I'm Jacob Lemke, owner of Corax Strength and Performance. When I was 16 years old, I had a training partner. We used to train together all the time. There was a point where we were working out together and one of us wasn't paying attention as much as we probably should have been. Both of us probably weren't paying attention as much as we should have been, and wound up getting hurt. I had relatively heavy squat out of the rack, not thinking, lost my balance. I got pretty badly injured, and that injury kind of haunted me a little bit. I had back pain and back injuries growing a little bit. Started playing at Auburn in 2009. I walked on. I was probably a junior, my third year. I started having issues. I'd reach into a dishwasher, or I would go to pick something up off the ground. My back would seize up. I remember one time having a meal. We went to unload the dishwasher, and I reached in the dishwasher and grabbed a fork, and my back locked up, and I basically fell into the dishwasher. You know, this is the night before we played Iron Bowl game. Well, not the night before. 2 nights before we played the Iron Bowl game. We were on a pretty good run, and I was laying on the floor of my apartment and I could not move. 2 days later, played in the game, felt terrible, worked my way through it, and the work probably kind of got worse from there. Probably 4 or 5 years out of college. As I became weaker and had that fall off from school and all the training that I had done and all the training I had done for the pros, my back really started giving me trouble. At that point, I was working a job where a lot of manual labor, a lot of hours spent in a tractor, a lot of hours working, my back would feel terrible. I got to a point where I could not stand when I would get home from work. Sleeping little pieces at a time, I couldn't hardly roll over in bed. I was miserable, and I didn't trust my body worth anything. Had surgery, I had a major disc issue in my back. The turnaround for me was post-surgery. I realized that I needed to come back out of the hole that I was in. I had almost an entire year period where we were expecting our third. He was coming in the world and I wasn't able to pick him up. I had to sit on the couch, hold him. I couldn't carry him around the house, and it was really, really hard. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, to sit there and watch the world spin by around you while you can't participate, and watch your kids play around you while you can't do anything with them. And feel helpless. I was at that point I decided that I was going to take my rehab and my therapy into my own hands, building myself back up. I started incrementally building my strength. That's a lot of what we do now in the gym. Start really, really small. Start exactly where you're at or just before where you're at. I can remember doing body weight squats and just squatting twice was hard. And the next week I would squat 3 times. And the next week I would squat 4 times. I was just stacking those bricks on top of each other, building up my foundation of what I could do. Now I don't have to worry about squatting body weight squats. It's easy, but I can remember a time where doing just 2 would wreck me for about 3 or 4 days. That was about 5 years ago now. I feel so much better. I have so much strength. I can chase my kids around. I can throw them over my head. It's amazing to go from a place where you don't trust your body and you can't function and you feel helpless, to not having to worry about picking up a fork, not having to worry about throwing your son up over your head and catching him and being in crippling pain. I started working after I had got recovered for another coach in town where we were living before in South Dakota. The jobs that I had had to that point were not allowing me to touch people and their lives, improve them or help them in the way that I really wanted to, and that's something I feel really passionate about. We were training athletes, high school kids, and trying to help them basically progress themselves to where they had an opportunity to get out, go to school somewhere, trying to get some scholarships. It was a lot of fun. It was amazing to see young kids grow up. I had the idea to open up my own place. The name for the gym originally came from an idea I had. I love all things birds. I've always been super fascinated with birds of prey, but birds in general. And so when we were looking to name the gym, the Latin name for a raven is Corax corvus. I was looking for a name that represented knowledge. Raven is, at least in mythical terms, a lot of mythologies of a lot of different cultures, it usually represents wisdom or knowledge or the knowing. I wanted that to be a representation of what we do. What was really driving me at that point is that I had worked with athletes and I had worked with just regular, ordinary folks in separate capacities. And I thought that it would be really cool if we could take the 2 of them, having those younger athletes who I was working with, see that, hey, this is what it looks like later. This is what you do now to try and get ahead of that. These are people of a lot of different generations, a lot of different experiences. Both groups can work together and they build each other up. Then we have the Raven Initiative, which stems off of that Latin name for raven. And I wanted to create something when we opened our doors that really spoke to my family. We have a lot of veterans in my family, and I've seen growing up a lot of the struggles that they've had with different injuries and different things that they carry with them from service. I really wanted to try and help that group specifically. The Raven Initiative is really basically training and support for veterans, talking through things and working in a group of veterans, and those veterans are then interspersed into our normal training groups. So you may have someone who has had multiple terms of service, had multiple deployments, have all kinds of amputations or injuries or struggles that they have, many of which are not visible to the naked eye, who are training alongside people who are masters age athletes in their 60s, alongside kids who are 14, 15 years old that have very little knowledge of the world. Really, the beauty of it is that our community has come together and continues to come together through different fundraisers to fund that project. So our veterans, they can come in and they train just like everyone else, and they have the extra support of a veteran network, but also of the family of the gym. And then on top of that, they don't have to pay anything. Any veteran that comes through the door trains for free, works out for free, they come as much as they need to, and they can get better. So the beauty of what we do is that it doesn't matter if you're 12 years old and trying to figure out how to play sports, or you're a veteran coming home from war and you have no idea what you're doing with your life, or you're beat up and you're trying to make yourself feel better. You could be 65 years old and still trying to compete. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the goal to get better and improve what you're trying to do in your life, this place is a perfect fit. Everything that we do is to support you. Our training, our programming, it is all set up to be beneficial and supportive of your life. Our Raven Initiative is there to help that group improve their lives. Everything that we have kind of ties together and creates this amazing family and atmosphere that we have here.